absolutely delighted next on Bright Green Live to be joined by Jo Bird. Now, Jo is a Green Party councillor in the Wirral, and she was first elected as a Labour Party councillor, but has since joined the Greens, and we're going to be looking at and exploring and talking about the reasons why she did that. But before we get into any of that, Jo, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Great, thanks, Chris. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little sleepy. I slept quite badly, which is not good news for an 8-hour live stream, but I'm on coffee number 3 and hopefully we'll get through it. So to kick us off, I wondered if you could just talk us through a little bit your why you decided to join the Green Party.
Yeah, thanks very much. And thanks for this invitation. Bright Green Live is a fantastic offer that you're making to the wider left and the Green movements. I joined the Green Party for a variety of reasons, personal and political. I come from a long tradition of eco-socialists who are Jewish. My great uncle Wolfie was on the Kinder Scout trespass 90 years ago. I was raised in the Woodcraft folk. Our motto is span the world with friendship. And some of us, in my early 20s, I was part of the Earth First group. We were taking non-violent direct action about roads and airports, defending local green spaces. And some of us started a housing cooperative in Manchester, which is still going today. We worked through the Radical Roots network. For a long time, for decades, party politics didn't offer any solutions to the problems that my communities were facing. The parties were bland, corporate, pro-war, pro-private profit. And I put my time and energy into the cooperative movement, helping groups of people to start and run democratic social enterprises, businesses for the common good, renewable energy, food, finance, farming, football, all kinds of sectors. And then in 2015, Jeremy Corbyn mobilised for the many and not the few. And I was living in Northern Ireland at the time, but almost everybody I knew in England was joining the Labour Party. They said join, and I did join because it seemed to me to be the best chance in a generation for social and environmental justice. I stood as a candidate back in England. I moved country in 2018 and was elected in a by-election later that year. And it's quite a journey, really. So from Labour to Green, because we all went mass trespassing over those years. We were up to the mountaintop, and we saw that another world is possible. And no one really can take that away from us. But we were also devastated by the general election defeat of 2017. And we were betrayed by the Tories within the Labour Party. And the Ford report and the Labour files have shown broadcast the evidence of that and shown what we on the left know to be true from our own experience. During that time in May 2021, I was re-elected with 61% of the vote as a local councillor, and I was like, oh, sugar, what have I got myself into? What the feck am I going to do now? Because the Labour Party was turning to crap. Particularly under Keir Starmer. I was suspended twice. I had a dozen disciplinary allegations made against me. I was smeared in the media by the Labour Party. I was investigated. I was told to shut up about the racism that I face as a Jewish person. And meanwhile, Jewish people like Jackie Walker and recently Naomi Winborn Idrisi and myself, we were disciplined. We're 31 times more likely to face disciplinary action than any other member. I won every case, by the way, and eventually they basically had to change the rules of the Labour Party and apply the rules retrospectively to finally expel me, which happened November last year. 21, and every day I wake up glad that I'm out of that hostile environment. It was a kind of creeping fascism, and still is, to say no, you can't debate anti-Semitism or racism, you can't talk about it, you can't discuss what's going on in front of your face and issues that are affecting your party and your communities, because we have to have a freedom of expression. There has to be a time and a place to discuss everything, because that's how progress is made. And still, large parts of the left are waiting 1 year, 2 years, 3 years for Jeremy Corbyn to start a new party, or for members of Unite and Uniton to say we want a ballot on our political levy. We want to choose which party we fund, if any, with our money, our political levy money. And I'm too impatient for personally, but also the issues our communities are dealing with. We can't wait. We can't wait anymore for another magical party to appear on the left. And besides which, we already have one. I looked around. It's the Green Party. You know, the local Green councillors where I am on the Wirral, they were voting to save local services, whereas Labour were voting to close the libraries in my ward and voting for other cuts. And I checked the facts. I had a look at the Green Party website, what Green Party leaders were saying, and actually you're consistently arguing and promoting social and environmental justice. And I thought, yeah, that's what I'm about too. That was the mandate on which I was re-elected and elected to serve my communities on. So yeah, I joined the Green Party 10 months ago. It's going very well. There's not a day that I'm very glad about it. I don't regret it at all. Our past, like thousands of people, 200,000 people have left the Labour Party. Our past is red, and I think our future is green.
So there's lots of things that you've talked about there that I want to pick up on, but the first of that is some of the stuff you talked about there was about people on the left waiting for a new political party to be set up or various other projects that people are kind of hoping for, and lots of other socialists who were in the Labour Party have since either left party politics altogether, or they've joined other smaller kind of fringe parties, whether that be like the Northern Independence Party or other small groups. But you chose the Greens. So I wondered whether you could delve a little bit more into why you didn't choose one of those other routes of dropping out of politics or joining one of those other smaller parties.
Yeah, thanks. Great question. And it's a debate that we've been having on the left, personally, politically, family, friends, colleagues, for the last few years. And everyone makes their own choices, and we're not all on the same journey. But I did consider the other options as well. Obviously, the smaller parties have no track record of winning elections. They don't have any councillors that have won election or MPs. They don't really seem a credible, viable vehicle, and they're very prone to infighting and splitting, and not of interest to me. I think we want system change. We want a collective answers to social environmental justice. So that means we have to work with a lot of people, even those we disagree with on some issues or have different tactics on other issues, whatever. A lot of people have put their time and effort into the trade unions, which is completely fine, brilliant. And we're seeing the results of that in the industrial action strikes that are taking place in all kinds of sectors all over the country. And what's missing from most of the trade union action there is a political answer as well as an industrial answer. We're not seeing that their political responses mostly. It's clearly not tenable to stay in the Labour Party and change it from within. That's what a lot of people argue, especially if they want more votes within the Labour Party. But it's awful. It's racist. It's the disciplinary processes are clearly weighted against natural justice, and that's well documented. And also it's policies for when it's in government. It's austerity light, for want of a better word. And I actually think it'll be worse under Labour because of the trade union. Some trade union affiliation gives it Labour cover. Some people, and one of the options I looked at was looking at putting my time and energy into single issue pressure groups, social movements, NHS and housing, public ownership, that kind of thing. And I think that's absolutely a great choice to make and valid. But I'm willing and able to be the public face of a political party, and a lot of people want me to do that. Like thousands of people voted for me to do that. And if I wasn't doing this as a sort of front-facing politician, I would be more involved in a kind of single issue pressure group. And I also looked at an idea that Ken Loach put out recently, which is to stand as an independent, to have a network of independent Labour councillors and MP candidates across the country. And I was independent for 4 months after Labour expelled me, and we had a network of similarly independent councillors. Only one was elected as an independent, others had been expelled or resigned. The one was Stephen Smith in Knowsley, run a brilliant campaign, and there's an exception that proves the rule, really, along with Mayor Luftur Rahman and the Aspire Party in Tower Hamlets. They're the only examples of independent from wider political party, independent candidates who've won election. So that shows how difficult it is. And I had a lot of conversations with people like, why don't you stand with me and be an independent councillor too, and or in their communities? And it's so daunting. Like, to get elected, you really do need a tried and tested election machine backing you and behind you and being part of that community. So yeah, I don't think that's really a viable route. Apart from exceptional characters like Ken Livingstone did it for Mayor of London. Jeremy Corbyn will undoubtedly win election if he chooses to stand again as an independent. But for most people, yeah, you need to be part of something bigger. A lot of people have retired from or disengaged from party politics. That's their choice. I'm not a commentator. I'm an activist. The Green Party is not for people. It's not a pressure group for grumpy people or a therapy session. It is a political party. We aim to win elections. We aim to make positive change. That's why I joined the Green Party. These debates that I'm sure thousands of people are having across the country, there's a few evidenced reasons people come up with about why they don't want to support the Green Party. And I just want to go through those because I think they're worth rebutting and nailing. One is that there's about 9 reasons that people give for not supporting the Greens. The Greens stand against Labour. Well, yeah, that's what political parties do. As if they're serious in a democracy, we aim to stand to win hearts, minds, votes and seats, and to get access to positions of power to make positive change. And we believe we can make more of that change through the Green Party than the Labour Party. It's a democracy. The voters decide that at the end of the day. Another argument is that Greens don't win MPs. And yes, it is difficult in a first past the post system. The Greens have 1 MP, Caroline Lucas, brilliant, been an MP for many years, and hopefully we'll get more. It takes work, it takes hard work. It's not a kind of glamorous thing. It takes a lot of knocking on doors, putting leaflets through. And the Greens have the best chance of winning MPs where the majority of the local wards have voted for a Green councillors. So that's the building blocks of winning Green MPs. And it's not impossible. Caroline has shown it can be done, and hopefully there'll be more like Carla in Bristol. A third reason is that the trade unions are not affiliated to the Green Party, which is true. But it's also true of Labour. Most trade unions are not affiliated to the Labour Party. There's 50 trade unions part of the TUC, and only 11 of them are affiliated to the Labour Party. Most are not, including the Bakers Union, the RMT, education unions like the NEU, health unions like the RCM, PCS. They're not affiliated to the Labour Party. It doesn't, political action doesn't require that affiliation. I would hope that the Green Party does allow trade union branch affiliation in the future going forward, and that's something we could come back to internally. I think the Green Party will be open to that. The fourth reason is a quite specific one about the bin strike of GMB members in Brighton. And I don't know what the Green-led council at the time kind of say about how they managed those industrial relations to get so bad that the bin workers went on strike, and it was resolved within 3 weeks. I don't think there's much more defence to that. Fifthly, a lack of diversity in the Green Party leadership, particularly all the public-facing parts of it. And, and Caroline Lucas did propose a cabinet of all-white posh women at one point, which she admits was wrong. She got it wrong. It was a mistake. And there is things to learn from that. And the Green Party, like all of the political parties, need to be taking a lot more concrete action to increase the diversity of its membership and its representatives. A couple of people say like that when I looked into Ken Livingstone said that he would apply for membership of the Green Party and then seemed to be refused. I don't know if he did actually apply. And certainly the official and the widespread welcome for all kinds of lefties is very apparent to me. And I was very welcome, and lots of other people have been welcome too. So I don't think that's a credible barrier. There's what else? Oh yeah, some people say that the Greens joined in the witch hunt against Corbyn, and every time I ask for evidence of that, I don't get any. It's a myth, it's a rumour. There are a couple of specific attacks on Andrew Miller and Ken Loach by prominent Greens, and again, when they're asked for evidence, there isn't any that's put up. So those kind of malicious allegations need to stop. But it's not true that the Greens took part in witch hunting against Corbyn, and I've seen no evidence for it. I'm very alert. I'm hypersensitive to allegations and the tactics and the history and the current practice around witch hunts. So yeah, and so similarly, the around the suspensions, no fault suspensions, whatever you call them, and disciplinary action within the Green Party particularly on trans rights and sex-based rights disagreements. And I don't yet know enough of the history of that, but I do know that the disciplinary process within the Green Party is a lot better than the Labour Party, which doesn't take much, but it's still, in the Green Party, it's much more based on natural justice. It's more human. Mediation is an option, for example. People talk to each other rather than kind of megaphone allegations at each other. Yeah, and that's kind of, that's about it. It's a very short list compared to the evidenced reasons not to support Labour, which we all know very well. So I can't actually see many good reasons for not supporting the Greens. One step at a time, join the Greens if you're interested. The Green Party's #1 core value is that we are a party of social environmental justice, which supports a radical transformation of society for the benefit of all and for the planet as a whole. So if you agree with that, then I would say join the Green Party if you want to be politically active, because together we're stronger.
So I want to pick up on some things that you touched on a little bit throughout that answer and one of your earlier responses. And you've talked quite extensively there about the negative experiences you've had when you were a member of the Labour Party. I wondered if you could talk a little bit more about how your experiences as a Green Party member and a Green Party councillor contrast to your experiences in the Labour Party.
Thanks. And I've written a popular article for Bright Green about this, so we can check that out too. The 5 things I learned since I've joined the Green Party. One is that lefties are very welcome, unlike in the Labour Party where we're blamed, expelled, and candidates are removed. Lefties are very welcome in the Green Party and promoted where we've got contributions to make. For example, I'm now on the Policy and Resources Committee at Wirral Council, where my finance and budget expertise is put to very good use, whereas Labour were just not interested in promoting me above the backbench in any way. And that's just my experience. The second reason, Greens put evidence before loyalty. There's no whip in the Green Party. You can actually put your local residents first. You can vote differently to each other. Green councillors can vote in different ways, as my Green group has done, and there's no disciplinary consequence to that. In the Labour Party, if you vote against the whip, the party line, then you're disciplined. And if you're very loyal, then you tend to get promoted into paid positions, and that's a key way that Labour exercise power and control. And so Greens have to consider the evidence on every vote or every decision that we make, rather than just being voting fodder and going along with the party line. The third reason is that Greens have really good policies, much better than Labour's. current Labour policies. For example, we're supporting the real living wage. We support frontline services, not cutting them. All the stuff around the climate is fantastic. Zero carbon, taking action towards that. The Green Party supports boycott, divestment and sanctions against Israeli abuses of Palestinian human rights, which is complete contrast to the Labour Party, who actively defend the state of Israel and the abuses that come currently and previously with that. And it's a key signature issue. It's a key issue, that one. And it's clear water between the two parties. The fourth reason is that the Green candidates work hard all year round to win hearts, minds and votes. No Green councillor has had an easy journey to become a Green councillor. There's always been, it's a safe seat for one party or another, or a highly contested political seat. We don't take votes for granted. Labour in a safe seat, you'll be lucky if you get one leaflet just before election time. So that's a big difference. Greens do the work. And there are the fifth big difference, I think, is around equality, diversity, inclusion. So Labour has gender balance criteria, so you can get gender balanced red Tories rather than ungender balanced ones. Whereas, and that's enshrined in the Labour Party rule book, whereas there's encouragement within the Green Party for gender balance and racial balance, but it isn't kind of hard mandated. And I'd just like to add, in the last year, I've not had to deal with a single disciplinary case against me, barely even any allegations against me. And that's a complete contrast to my lived experience in the Labour Party, where there were so many.
So I have a final question for you, but before I go to that, I just wanted to remind people that if you have any questions that you want me to put to Jo, please do pop them in the chat on YouTube, and I'll get as many of them put to her as possible. So before I come to the chat, there's been a flurry of Labour councillors over recent months who have defected from Labour to the Greens. Obviously, your case was slightly different because you had a window where you were independent between, but there have been lots of instances where we've seen Labour councillors either becoming independents and then becoming Greens, or doing the switch immediately from Labour to Green. And it's happening on an unprecedented scale. Defections within for elected politicians is a pretty rare thing. It's a pretty big step for people to take, and yet we're seeing it happening across the country, where increasing numbers of Labour councillors are joining the Greens. I wondered if you had any thoughts, as someone who has made that journey, on what this means for the future of the Green Party.
Yes, it's a very exciting development. About 20 former Labour councillors are now Green councillors, and have brought people with them as well. I think the future for the Green Party down this road is very exciting and positive, and to be welcomed. Recent councillors who've joined include like Councillor Ekuru Bayunu, Heather Skipstead, Kevin Freer, and last month Lou Cunningham in Leeds. Matt Zarb-Cousins has joined the Green Party from the Labour Party. He used to be the spokesperson for Jeremy Corbyn. On the Wirral, my patch, the whole dynamic has changed. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant place to be. I'm so happy about it. So in the active Labour left, about a third of those people in the last year or 18 months have joined the Green Party and become active or actively supporting Green candidates against really quite nasty Labour candidates. A third of the former Labour left have become kind of like Labour loyalists, for want of a better word. They're showing, in my opinion, their complicity in the awful stuff that Labour does by continuing to pay their money to the Labour Party and even be active in the local Labour Party. And a third have retired from politics altogether. Fair enough, that's their choice. What's happened with the Wirral Green Party is, so we're now putting up 15 candidates in 5 target wards. We've got all-out elections in May, and there's 15 candidates. Broadly, a third are former Labour, a third are long-time Green members, and a third are relatively new to party politics, but have been inspired to join by the growth we have on the Wirral. We have a big electoral test in the Wirral and other parts of the country, where About half a dozen former Labour councillors are seeking re-election as Green councillors, and it's never happened before. We hope we all win, and your help on the doorstep and on the stomp will be absolutely very welcome. Anyone who wants to join former Labour councillors who are now standing as Green candidates. It's really important that we win. So to former Labour members who are unsure about the Greens, I would say check your facts, have a look at the Green website, listen to what your Green leaders are saying. You'll hear them supporting striking frontline workers. And I would say talk to your local Green councillors and have that conversation, see what they say to your concerns. And to Green Party members, long-time existing ones, I would say be kind to incoming Labour members. We're very motivated by justice, and we've been through some hardcore political trauma. We're hurting, but we want justice to win out. Some of our comrades died with malicious allegations hanging over them, and you know it's been awful what we've lived within the Labour Party. But like with welcoming refugees, you know, treat us well, give us information, give us access to integration, and we'll pay back your generosity many times over, and we'll grow the Green Party in all kinds of directions. Thanks.
A beautiful note to finish that on. I have an amazing question that's come through on the chat, which follows from that really, really nicely. So Rosie has asked, do you have any thoughts on what local Green Party activists can do to help encourage and welcome more disenchanted left Labour councillors over to the Greens?
Well, firstly, keep doing what you're doing, putting out the Green messages, winning elections. Chris, your election in 21 was inspiring for me and other people. You won election against Luke Akehurst of We Believe in Israel, and you won it at the ballot box. That's a key part of what we're about. So yeah, number one, keep doing what we're doing, and you know, keep the door open for when people are ready to make an approach. Make those approaches yourselves as well, if when you think it's appropriate. Particularly, there's a number of people who've been removed as candidates, and they're interested in joining and standing. You know, because one of the key bottlenecks for the Green Party is a shortage of candidates. So you want to be looking at people who you think would make a good Green candidate, and a lot of them are no longer in the Labour Party.
And Rosie's got a follow-up question for you, which is, what should we be doing to make sure that if someone does defect, who's a councillor, that we support them properly once they have defected, I guess, both in terms of their elected position, because, you know, if they defect from the Labour Party, one of the experiences that a lot of ex-Labour councillors have is the viciousness and the vitriol of people who are still in the Labour Party, but also, as you've talked about, to get them re-elected as a Green.
Yeah, so actions speak louder than words. Accepting people as Greens on the same basis as anybody else. You know, we're signing up to Green values and principles, and we're an equal member like anybody else. So an active defence is good, but it doesn't have to be like very wordy. It just has to be they're part of the Green Party, they're a Green councillor now, or they're a Green candidate, or whatever. When I joined the Green Party, so 3 Labour councillors stood up at a full council meeting and called on me to resign and call a by-election. Whereas when other Labour councillors had gone independent, they stood up and applauded them. So it's very partial, it's very selective who they support and who they don't support, and it's very hypocritical. Of course, members of my ward, people who live in my ward who elected me, not a single one of them called for me to resign and call a by-election. They were more than happy to put it to the test at the next local election when I'm a candidate. And some Labour defecting councillors from Labour to Green don't want to stand again, and that's totally fine. You just there's just be friendly and integral. I don't quite know how to answer the question. Like, and my experience has been massively positive. When there's concerns, they're talked about. When there's something to do, we do it together.
Thank you so much, Jo, for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
You're very welcome. Thank you.